In this episode, we're going to be looking at everything about the club secretary role within Toastmasters. The club secretary basically maintains all the club's records. They manage files, handle correspondence. The secretary takes minutes at each club business meeting as well as at executive meetings. They're also in charge of keeping the club officer list current in Club Central for Toastmasters International. It may also be the secretary's role within your club to do things like order supplies, name badges, ribbons, trophies, anything that is required. In some clubs, the role of secretary may be combined with the treasurer role. However, there are advantages to having these roles as separate roles, especially as it gives a little bit of extra manpower when needed. And often the secretary is someone that can help alleviate the workload of other club officers when required. The secretary must ensure compliance with all laws and regulations, especially in regards to privacy of members' information, as well as the appropriate recording and storage of all the club's financial information. Now, I know all of this may not sound like the most exciting role. So to find out what they love about being the secretary, let's have a chat to a current club secretary. To talk us through the role of club secretary today, we're joined by Riddell, a very experienced Toastmaster who I feel we will get a heap out of the conversation with. Di, can you please fill us in? What club do you currently belong to? And what made you choose that club? What makes it unique or a great club to be part of?
Thank you, Charlene. My current club is Riddell, which is on the peninsula just in North Brisbane. I joined that club because of convenience, actually, because I'd come from the Sunshine Coast and I moved down here and I joined Narangba, which is another suburb, and it was just a little bit closer. But anyway, through a number of things, that club folded, and Redcliffe was the next closest. And we were about to set off for a trip around Australia, and I didn't want to lose the continuity of my membership. And I thought, well, Redcliffe's closest, I'll join them, and then I'll get in there when I come home, and that's what we did sort of 10 months later.
You mentioned there not losing the continuity of your membership. How long have you been a Toastmaster for?
This is my 49th year. I joined in 1977.
Wow. I have to ask, and I know this wasn't in what I said we were going to talk about.
All right.
What keeps someone coming back to Toastmasters when you've been involved for that long? Do you not get to a point where you're like, I've learnt what I need to know now?
Oh, I probably had a couple of low points when I thought, what am I doing? But really the point is it's about giving back. So many people gave to me and supported me when I started on leadership roles, that I get pleasure now out of seeing the growth in new members and being there to support them on their path. It's an amazing organisation, and I think it's it's like, you could call it the family of Toastmasters. It's the connections that you make, and I think a lot of that comes about because when we give our speeches, they're very personal, so that builds that rapport and that sense of connection with your fellow members, and I think that helps too. And through some very major challenges in my life, I've had amazing support from Toastmaster friends. And I didn't say, way back then, 40, 50 years ago, I'll make friends with that person because I might be able to use them later. Of course, it didn't occur to me. It unfolds, and the more you put in, the more you're going to get out.
I think that can be such an unexpected surprise within Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Because we talk about a safe environment to express yourself and to experiment and to practice. But I find that is so genuinely lived out in clubs, that there really is a level of trust and often vulnerability.
Big time, big trust.
Yeah. And often people bring that vulnerability to their speeches and to Toastmasters, which is a really special
And I have over the years, because I've shared some very personal stuff over the years, and used two of them for speech contests, actually. So, it is a big trust factor. Big. Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, you said then you didn't go into Toastmasters thinking, I'm going to make friends with these people, they'll pop up later in my life. What did originally motivate you to join Toastmasters?
Well, I actually got sponsored in. I joined, like I said, I joined in 1977. Toastmasters officially opened their doors to women in 1973. So it was still a very male-dominated, orientated organisation then. And in a lot of the towns where they already had a male club, it was not only women in our club. So they started a lot of if the towns were big enough, and Mackay was, to start another club that had men and women in it. And that club was in formation. And as they were collecting their members so that they can charter, they contacted the local service clubs and asked if they would like to sponsor a member for a year. And at the time I was in BPW, Business and Professional Women's Club, and we got a letter, and someone said to me, "What about you, Di?" I said, "Not likely, no, not happening." And then a friend said, "Oh, come on, you put yours in and your name in and I'll put mine in." And then she took hers out, but I didn't know that till later. So, the first, oh God, and I needed the confidence. It was at a stage in life, I've got a nursing background. So I went from nursing into marriage, and I married a man with 4 children aged 10 to 16, and I was 24. So I took on a bit, and then moving again from nursing into the semi-corporate sugar industry, I was expected to entertain and whatever. And it was like I was so far out of my depth it wasn't funny. So I knew I needed it, but the fear factor was, off the roof. Anyway, off I went, and the first couple of months I think, I've got a sore finger, or maybe I've got a sore throat. And then I think, well, if I don't go and someone from BPW says, how are you going? And I can't say, well, I had a sore finger this week and a sore throat the next week. So I fronted, and after about 3 months I thought, what am I on about? I'm quite enjoying this, and away I went.
And that's so often the way. The people who are the most afraid to step through the door, or the ones that are the most worried about it or feel they need it the most, are the ones that get so much out of the journey. But I love that public accountability part as well.
Yes.
And it definitely helps. I've got
a major motivator at the time.
I've got a 365-day project going at the moment that I'm publicly accountable on social media to people for that, and it definitely makes a difference. Absolutely. Okay, so we were here today to talk about the secretary role. What makes it a fantastic role to hold within a club?
I think that one of the most important things is that you're sort of at the hub of everything. You're the centre of it. It gives you a front row seat on how the executive runs, and the club runs, the executive runs, and then you start to have the contact from district and start to understand that there's more to Toastmasters than your local club. You get to understand meetings, and it gives a quiet step into leadership. It's not an overt step, and you don't go into secretary thinking, I'm leading this club, but it's leadership in a different way. And I think in learning to support other people, and you are with the other executive, and I am club secretary for my club this year, and I was last year, because both times we've had fairly new members step up as president. So me being there as secretary is a good backup for them, and steering them and just making the way easier for them. So I think it's a great way to start your Toastmasters executive roles.
And the executive really is a team sport.
Oh, it is.
Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And bizarrely enough, actually, I find Toastmasters is a team sport.
When
you think about it, it's such an individual thing of getting up and giving your speech. There's so much support. There's your feedback. There's your mentors. There's so much that wraps around that for every individual.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think secretary is a really good role as a starting point to give you that understanding.
So what does the secretary actually do? If you were to say,
what do I do?
These are the tasks I do.
I take the minutes at the club executive meetings, record any actions that are agreed upon. And actually, when I do the minutes, I always have an action sheet at the bottom, an action table. with each of the executive and who has to do what before the next meeting, because it's very easy to look at the minutes, glance at the minutes and miss something. When it's down the bottom and your name's there, it makes it very obvious, and then we can follow up at the next meeting. That's how I do it.
There's that public accountability piece again, Guy.
And I'm a bit organised. Yeah, I'm fairly organised.
Yeah. So when you talk about skills or knowledge for this role, organisation skills would be
Oh,
one.
absolutely, big time organisation, and I think maintaining the historical records so that we know why a decision was made. And I think that's important, because something can come up and say, oh, why are we doing that? Why don't we do X, Y, Z? Well, there might be a very good reason why. But then when you look at it, they might think, well, yeah, that was applicable back then, but we don't need it now. And then you can make an informed decision about where to go forward. So that they're all those little tiny things. So you're sort of like the club's memory. I think that sums it up. I think you're sort of the club's memory.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about organisational skills there. What else do you feel that skills they might utilise or skills they might develop through doing this role?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
So we talked about organisational skills there. What, are there other skills and knowledge that someone might come into the role with and use, or on the other hand might not have and might look to this as a role to develop?
I think all those organisational skills and having templates for everything that make it very easy to just fill in the names. I always take I take the previous minutes to the meeting, a copy of them, and I use that as my scribble notes to update and cross out what we've already done and just add the little bits. So it's like having a plan. Yeah. So I think having a plan. So it's someone who, if you haven't got organisational skills, well, you'll soon learn them, or you just get in such a mess. And I can't stand chaos. Chaos is just, out of this world for me. It drives me insane. I can't operate. So I think just being organised. And what skills do you bring? I think organisation's the big one. And willingness to learn and being open. And then lending that support, because you're the one who gets the info and whatever, makes sure forwarding that on so that everyone keeps informed. So it's a people role, and working in together with the membership chairman and the treasurer around any membership issues.
I think that comment there about it being a people role is really important, because sometimes we can get stuck in the admin and the writing the minutes, and we forget that this is all happening for a purpose, and that purpose is to support people and to support the club.
Yeah. And we are a people organisation.
Is there a certain level of technology skills that you would need to develop in this role?
I don't think anything that anyone wouldn't have in today's world. I use Word documents for the minutes. We use Zoom meetings we run a hybrid club because we've got one member who's in Ireland. And for any member who can't attend the meeting, there's an opportunity for them to come online and do it if they're at home, but they're just not able to get there. Using Zoom and because we're a hybrid meeting, it's a bit of a confusion sort of getting set up. So it's almost a two-person job. So I'm not quite in that. That's not my area of expertise. But from the secretary's point of view, I think just being able to use regular technology. In our club, I have access to our Facebook page, so I can, through admin, so I can post anything that's going on, which I do, anything that's relevant to the club. And if some of us do outside assignments, I usually make a note of that and just talk about it, because it's about using our skills, because you don't put your Toastmaster skills in your handbag at the end of the night and go home and come back and open it 2 weeks later. They're life skills. You can use them in everything that you do. So showing all of the members how other members interact in the community using their Toastmaster skills makes the benefits of the organisation much stronger.
Absolutely.
Make sense?
Oh, 100% does.
Yeah.
And I love when members come in and talk about things that they've done outside of Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And everything from nailing a job interview, getting a new job, getting a promotion, actually even opening that conversation with their
Mhm.
supervisor about where their career is going,
Yeah.
to we have members who are speaking at conferences and doing all sorts of amazing
Yeah.
things.
All that.
But just in the everyday, we had
Yeah.
a member come back and say just how much participating in table topics has helped them
Yes.
integrate into a new workforce and meet their new work colleagues and be able
Mhm.
to have a conversation with them, which it's
Yeah.
incredible.
You'll often hear people say that impromptus help them in job interviews,
Mm,
being able to respond.
yeah.
And that's the value of impromptu, is that it teaches you to respond and to do it within a time limit. And, a time limit is the other thing that I think that's really important. I think they're the two important skills that we take out into the community.
Yeah, love it. We could talk all day down that little path, Di. Back to the secretary role. How much time do you give to this role? Is it something that's every week, every fortnight, once a month? Are
Um,
there particular times of the year that the workload is heavier?
Round changeover time is probably a little bit heavier when you're changing over things, and we meet twice a month, and we meet on a Wednesday night, and then on the second and fourth, and on the third Wednesday night we have our executive meeting. So it's just a matter of collating the correspondence and seeing who's got something they need to bring to the agenda so that everyone's on the same page.
Oh, what would you say to someone who was in Toastmasters, has not been on an executive before, or maybe has, but feel maybe they don't come from an admin background particularly, but they still are interested in taking on this role and developing some of those skills? What advice would you give them, and where would you say to them to go to for support?
Well, first, go to a past secretary. Go to someone who knows. It's like anything. If you want to go in a contest, go and speak to someone who's won a speech contest. If you want something on leadership, go to someone who's been a successful leadership, been a great leadership example. And the same with secretary. And just have a go, because we don't go into we're not meant to go into a role knowing it. We're an educational learning organisation, and we learn by doing. So we grow within the role. And so, I would just say have a go, because it's a great way, and you don't need great admin skills. It's very simple, really, um, and very straightforward. And if you've got the templates, it's pretty much done for you. You just fill in the spaces,
Love it. Fill in the blanks. Love
fill in
it.
the blanks. Fill in the blanks. That's right.
Is there something that you find when you came into a club secretary role, and I'm not sure how many times you perhaps have done this role over your time in Toastmasters, but something that surprised you about it or was unexpected, or you hear from other people that they didn't realize this was part of the secretary's role or they didn't expect to be involved in?
um, Maybe meeting management, um, learning to write minutes, learning to summarise, and to practice confidentiality and discretion, because there were private things that go on, and people need support, and it doesn't always have to be on the table. But I think that you learn how committees function, um, the club policies and procedures, leadership dynamics, and God, isn't that a biggie? And decision-making processes. Because any time where you've got three people or more, there's going to be some politics or something going on. So that's a big thing. As I said earlier, I think that secretary is a great basis for further leadership opportunities. And often people will see skills in you that you don't see in yourself as you're growing. I didn't think I had a leadership bone in my body, but others saw it in me before I did. And I was actively encouraged into each of those roles, but I grew into them as I went. So, I went on area, division, the three trio roles. And in 1985, 86, we were a President's Distinguished District, which is within the top 6 in the world. So got a trip to America out of that. But that's about a team. That's a team effort. That's a huge team effort. And then I came back and took on district governor again for half a term in 2002. And then in 2003, I received a presidential citation, which is an award that you don't work towards. It's bestowed upon you for services rendered to the organisation. So it's been a big journey. So I've given a lot, but my goodness, I've got a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to see other people do that. Sorry?
And it can all start with being a club secretary.
And it can all start with being a club secretary. I can't remember what my first role was. Might have been club secretary. It's too long ago. I can't remember. Because I know I was on the club executive within about 3 months of joining the club. So,
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was.
There we go. Is there something that stands out for you as a highlight of being a secretary within a club? And I'm sure you have a lot of highlights from your time in
Just being at the
Toastmasters.
hub of everything and welcoming new members and make sure that the TI site's up to date and we make people feel welcome so that they want to come back. And I think that's a great part of being a secretary. You're just sort of the general, let's tie it together in a neat little bundle and have a good time.
And have a good time. That's so important, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, that was one of our founder, Ralph Smedley's things. We learn in moments of enjoyment. And that's as true today as what it was in 1924. Just that it took him a long time to wake up to the fact that we needed women in the organisation. Very slow on the uptake there, but apart from that, all good.
Well, I'm glad that you were one of the early adopter women in the organisation, Di. I'm sure you have brought so much to Toastmasters over your years. And I know from some of our conversations, you have got so much out of it yourself. And
Yeah.
I guess that's with anything in life, right? We get out what we
What
put
you
in.
put in, yeah.
Toastmasters definitely has a ton to offer people. And if you're thinking that secretary might be something that Toastmasters has to offer you, reach out to your club president, current secretary, any of the executive really, and I'm sure they would be very, very happy to have a conversation with you about what that may look like within your club and those opportunities that might be there.